Who remembers the BJ and Bill show all those years ago on WOLZ? Well, many have said they missed the show, and guess what? They're back. Welcome to the BJ and Bill podcast.
Welcome to BJ and Bill, the podcast, a part of the Podcast Playground Network. We ask you to please subscribe, give us that 5-star review, much appreciated. You can do that wherever you do your podcasting, whether it be Apple, Spotify, you know, wherever. We're in so many places. It's scary.
We're like dust bunnies, basically. You look under the couch and there we are. I know it's weird. It is. But it's all right. It's all good. How you doing, old man?
Not bad. I just know it's old news, but I just want to kind of start out the podcast with an apology.
Go ahead. We're listening.
You know, it was like, Game 7 and the way that, Florida, the Panthers had been playing, I said, well, I don't think they're going to be able to win a Game 7. But I must say, Bill Stevens somewhat agreed with me also.
I was going to come clean there. You didn't have to force me. I was going to say, yes, I sort of, kind of, absolutely positively agreed with BJ Odom that the way things were going, the Oilers looked like they had the real chance. They were hot. I mean, if you can be hot in hockey, I don't know. They were cranked up. They were in sync. They were all those boy bands. They were doing whatever they needed to do. And then they got to Game 7 and they just looked flat. I mean, the Oilers looked flat. And I guess the hometown fans there for the Panthers cranked it up a notch. Good job, Florida Panthers, your Stanley Cup winning team for the year.
And of course, I was in Fort Myers over the weekend. I got my back-to-back T-shirt to celebrate the Florida Everblades championship of the Kelly Cup in the ECHL hockey
Very
league.
nice. Very nice. Good for you.
Proud of that, wearing it, I think, a couple days ago. So it was dirty. I couldn't wear it today, but
well, it's all right. We can't see it here on the podcast, but maybe you can post a picture of you wearing it or something like that. But that's awesome. Good for you. Back to back.
I love that.
Three in a row for the Florida Everblades. Nice job. Nice job.
So how was your cabin experience?
Well, last week, I mean, the previous program, previously on BJ and Bill, the podcast, they always have that. I recorded from the cabin in Blue Ridge and then spent the week, because we record these on a Monday. So then that was the beginning of my week. So I spent the whole week, me and Max, the Wonder Dog, just hanging out, chilling on the back porch of the cabin in Blue Ridge while our friends, Rick and Vicky Wagner, were off for a little quick summer vacation. He is a big Civil War buff. And so they wanted to go and visit a couple of Civil War sites. So they went to Vicksburg, Mississippi, and Natchez. Is that how you say it? I'm not even sure. Vicksburg and Natchez, Mississippi, to visit some of the Civil War museums and battlefields and stuff like that. He's a big fan. And she just likes to get out of the house. So it's all good. So yours truly and Mr. Max, the Wonder Dog, spent the week together. And we just hung out. We walked a couple of times a day. I probably got some pretty good exercise, but I also know that I didn't exactly eat as good as I should. So probably split the difference there as far as gaining and losing weight. It was good. It was fun. I mean, if you've never been there, the mountains, and it's all up there. It's the Carolinas, it's North Georgia. It's, all of that stuff. It's beautiful, beautiful country. If you like mountains and woods. Some people are more beach people. I get it. Some people are woods people, but beautiful place, and enjoyed it. Drove home yesterday as we record this, and here I am. I'm pretty well unpacked, pretty well ready to rock, pretty well all good to go for the week.
And of course, another stop on your way home.
Oh yes.
At Buc-ee's.
Where's my, yes, I should have brought my Buc-ee's cup over, but yeah, I did. So, all right. I know America wants to know, and here I am to give you the post-game breakdown, and that is on the drive up, and I think we talked about this on the previous show, I had the brisket sandwich. Excellent. Excellent.
Love the brisket sandwich.
I know you do. I know. On the way back, had the pulled pork. And I got to tell you, for me, now this is just Bill Stevens talking. You do what you want. I like the pulled pork better. Brisket, good. Pulled pork, better, in my opinion.
Now, see, my opinion is pulled pork, good, but the brisket is my favorite.
Okay. And I totally get it. And maybe I just didn't have the best brisket of the bunch that moment. Believe me, I would never say no to either one. Bill, here's a brisket sandwich. Oh no, I couldn't. Give me that thing. So yeah.
I forget what the commercial was for, but it was like, I'm learning not to say the word no anymore. So when someone asks me, do you want one? I say, no, I want two.
I want two. Yes, indeed. So now on the drive up, had a bag of the beaver nuggets. And as you remember, if you listened to last week's show, BJ went into great detail telling me about enjoy them, but don't read the ingredients. Because, yeah, you get like a sugar buzz and then some from the beaver nuggets. And they are fabulous, by the way. So I'm not saying don't buy them. I'm just saying, like all things in life, use in moderation. And then so yesterday, no beaver nuggets, did have the pecan or pecan, depending on your preferences, pecan log, and there's about half of it still in the fridge. So that will be nibbled on. That's more of a dessert candy bar kind of a thing. And
I would still kind of think you might have wanted to read the sugar
ingredients.
content.
I know. I know.
To get those pecans to stick together, you usually need a sugary coated gook.
Absolutely. I make no excuses for my eating. I always think, I'm always like, I'm on the road. What the hell? I can have whatever I want.
The nuggets in the log may be like, they might be in a close race for the highest sugar content.
They might well be. I do think the beaver nuggets are a little more addictive. I mean, you open that bag and it's hard to stop. They're like
a Lay's potato chip.
Yeah, right. Can't eat just one. So the pecan log, as good as it was, I could put it down. I could, take a nibble, put it down. So again, but what you said is absolutely positively correct. It's like, oh my gosh, people, just read the ingredients and moderation in all things. Moderation. That's all we're saying.
They did say, though, because I don't know if I'd want to do this in the mountains, though. But, exercise, they always say walking is good exercise.
Oh, yeah.
Walking backwards is even better exercise.
I have heard that. And I actually used to do it some. I walk in my neighborhood here. I'm not going to say I do it every day. I'm trying to get back to that habit of walking because it's just so doggone hot, of course. But yes, you can walk backwards, and it's good for your knees and it's good for your hips because it works a whole different set of muscles. At least that's what I watched a YouTube video. Now I'm an expert. I watched one YouTube video. Now I'm a freaking expert. So, but I get it. I do. Yeah. And I bought myself, by the way, before I left for the cabin last week, I ordered from Amazon a little Fitbit. It's a generic Fitbit. It's not the brand name Fitbit, but how many steps you take. So yeah, when I was up there in Georgia walking the dog a couple of times a day, it was 4,000 or 5,000 steps a day. Now they recommend 10,000 steps a day. And I'm like, how the hell do you do that? I can't imagine getting 10,000 steps a day.
I will say you might have been close to the 10,000, even though you didn't take the 10,000. If you're in the mountains, you're going up, down, down. I would say that is more exercise than if you were here in Florida.
Absolutely.
We went to downtown Claremont yesterday.
Okay.
For the farmers market or whatever you call it, where they have vendors of craft items and food items.
Nice. Love that.
And so to get there, obviously parking was a mess because, everybody likes to go to a fancy, bazaar,
sure,
or whatever you call it. And so we had to kind of walk up the hill to get there. And by the time we walked up the hill to get to the main street that it was on, I'm going, whoop, and then of course we walked up because I didn't take my bike. I've been trying not to take my bike unless, we're going to one of the parks where then you do, if you don't take your bike, your little, hover, your little
bike. You talking bike or you talking your little scooter, your old man scooter?
They're called mobility scooters.
Of course they are. Old man scooter.
But if you go to one of the Disney parks and don't take a mobility scooter, you're going to get those 10,000 steps in.
Yes, I'm sure you would, because you're walking all day. I mean, morning, noon, and night. So yeah, I get it. You're right. By the way, I mean, I believe that with the walking in the mountains, because I mean, the street that they live on has 3 or 4 cabins on it, and you drive up the mountain to get to their little driveway street, and then you turn down, and it goes not a long way, maybe 100 yards down to their cabin, maybe 150, but it is down the hill. So the first thing every morning, walking the dog to do our business, first thing in the morning is you're walking up that gravel roadway. And I would get to the top, and the dogs there like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And I'm standing there going, give me a minute. So yeah, it was a lot of that every day.
So you got good exercise, even though you had the
I'm sure I did. Yep. So it's all good.
You had an adventure. I had a little adventure. Although before I even get into my little spiel on what I saw.
Okay.
It's been almost 2 years since the hurricane went through Sanibel Island.
Right. Hurricane Ian, right?
Now, I went out to Sanibel Island because we were living there when Charlie came through.
Right.
I probably went out to Sanibel Island 2 days after. Maybe not 2 days, but I'm saying within the first 2 weeks.
Right.
And I thought that there was much more destruction than I saw after Ian.
Really?
Yes. But again, it's been almost 2 years. I could tell, like, looking, at this building, that building has been completely rebuilt.
Right.
This building, they are still working on rebuilding it. Mm-hmm. So I saw these types of things. But I remember going out there after Charlie, and the vegetation was just gone. I mean, you could see the big mansions that were, out by the Gulf of Mexico on Sanibel Island that you never saw before because the vegetation that grew up around them covered it from the road.
Correct.
I didn't notice that as much.
Okay.
But again, it's been almost 2 years, where probably it was 2 months after Charlie that I went out to the island.
Right.
But probably what got me the most was going out on the causeway, all those little islands. I guess you could call them islands. When you're going out on the causeway, and people would always, veer off and get on those little islands and kind of sunbathe.
On the way out to Sanibel, you're saying?
Yeah.
On the way out to Sanibel. Mm-hmm.
Those were basically just sand piles. Not a whole lot of trees left. Not a whole lot of anything left. And they were all closed off because I believe they're 4-laning the causeway all the way across.
Oh, that'd be good.
So you did see like a lot of, vehicles that would work on roads and supplies and things like that. But you really didn't see a lot of trees or anything. And you didn't see any cars because they were all blocked off because, they're doing construction out there. So that was the biggest thing I witnessed.
So what you're saying is lots of construction still going on 2 years later to try to kind of get back to whatever.
But I did go all the way out to the bubble room.
You did or didn't?
I did.
Oh, okay. What's out there? I mean,
a fence is pretty much around the bubble room.
Right.
There are a couple little, like I know there are little gift shops and stuff. It is open, but the actual bubble room, there's like a complete fence around. But there is a big banner on that fence that says Bubble Room reopening 2024, or was it 2020? Yeah.
This is 2024.
Yeah, 2024.
So they're going to reopen this year sometime.
Yes.
Did it
Wasn't
look,
open
I
yet,
mean,
though.
I know. Could you see past the fence with the
It looked like,
construction, or is it?
now one of the walls looked like there was nothing but black visqueen over that.
Right.
But the rest of the building looked like it was pretty much intact.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't know what they were doing where the black visqueen was. Maybe they're just putting up, because it's the part that you really kind of see towards the road. So maybe they're just
Okay.
redoing that, or that's where they're going to put the new, door or something. I don't know, but it was like that side was all covered up, but I still got excited.
Yes. I mean, that was an old building. I mean, even 20 years ago, that was an old building. So yeah. Well, who knows? We'll see what happens. Good luck. Good luck to our friends at the Bubble Room.
Now let me ask you this, because I don't understand this. As you go out to Sanibel.
Yes.
Before you get to Sanibel, there was that outlet mall or whatever it was with all these outlet stores.
Oh, sure.
I don't know if that closed with the hurricane because of that is completely closed now. Nothing at all is open there.
Really?
And there was some pretty nice stores there.
Yeah, that was a thriving business. I mean, I was there many times.
It's probably in a low-lying area, though. They probably got flooded out, and maybe they just haven't opened it yet. But it looked like it was, it was pretty well like a ghost town.
Wow.
Didn't even look like they were doing a lot of construction.
It was on stilts a little bit, maybe just not enough.
Yeah, it almost even looked like there wasn't even anybody doing like construction in the area.
Wow. Yeah, what a story that was. What an experience that was for the folks. I mean, I wasn't there. My ex still there in the house that we lived in together. She's still, and she said this time we were lucky. She was lucky this time that the hurricane didn't really hit her neighborhood that hard, and which was weird because it came right ashore at Fort Myers Beach, obviously. And, I was there for Charlie. I was there for all the hurricanes, previously. And as far as our neighborhood, our house goes, Charlie was a lot worse, she said, than when Ian came through, even though Ian did so much more damage down to the beach. So it just, the weather is a weird thing. That's all you can say.
And of course, we're in hurricane season again.
We are, and there's one out there, but I haven't really been following it since I've been up in Georgia, so haven't really been following the news all that much. I heard there was a debate. I heard there was a presidential debate. How did that go?
What little I watched, it was like watching an episode of Dumb and Dumber.
And we're not political here on this show, but honest to God, the day after the debate, the morning after, that was Thursday. It was Thursday evening. So literally Friday, I spent in front of my computer watching YouTube videos of all the spin, the reaction, the panic, the gloating. I watched it all. That literally Friday, I spent in front of my computer watching YouTube videos from all of these pundits on both sides. Don't get me wrong. I watched both sides, and the entertainment value was off the charts for me anyway. I mean, I like I said, I don't, I'm not a huge political follower or whatever, but for entertainment value, it was amazing for me.
All I got to say for me, just for me.
Yeah,
I think we're all, and I'm not going to say it on this podcast because we don't use that kind of language. But ladies and gentlemen,
yes,
no matter what happens,
boys and squirrels,
I believe we are truly
fracked.
Yeah, we're fresh. We're gonna be a fresh new nation.
Oh no, that's not what I meant. I said frack. F-R-A-C.
Yeah, okay, frack, frick, whatever you want to say. However you say
we are.
We are all frank and fracked.
I can't, and I remember saying this. I remember telling friends who were in a panic when Trump got elected the first time, who were I said, 4 years, this too shall pass. And I'm thinking the same thing now, except now I'm thinking, I don't care who wins this time. 4 years, this too shall pass. And we're going to have to, please, please, God, have to find some new blood. Can we stop with the 90-year-old old fat white men, please? I know. I'm almost one of them. I know. But even I recognize that you got to get some new blood in there, please.
Oh, yes.
I know.
And I don't think Kennedy's the answer, but I'm still hoping, like, I believe in fairy tales. I believe somewhere,
you are
somehow,
a Disney, you are a Disney season pass holder, so you do believe in fairy tales, and that's okay. That's okay.
Somewhere, somehow, before the election, somebody with a white horse and a white hat is going to come prancing down. We're going to go
Pennsylvania Avenue. Yeah.
There it is. Thank God he has arrived. Or she. Or she.
We don't care.
Yeah, well, I don't care. He, she. I don't even care if it's an it. It's got to be better than the two choices that we have available.
I agree. Don't get started. Don't get me started on politics, because it's just, I don't know what people are thinking. I don't get it. They're so wrapped up in their own political belief of our guy is great and your guy sucks. And on both sides, that it doesn't matter that they are both old, senile, convicted criminal, whatever you choose to call it. It's the same guy. It's the same guy. It's two sides of the same coin.
I only laugh because you gotta laugh at this. You got to, or you go out back and just blow your freaking brains out.
You might. So hang in there, my friends. Hang in there, audience. Hang in there, people. Take care of yourself and take care of your family, and let the rest kind of sort it out, I guess, is the best. I don't have any advice. I don't.
And again, and maybe I will ask for your advice on this. I know this is also, and I hate that things that you want to discuss that you don't feel at all should be a political hand grenade.
But
I just threw it.
BJ.
I'm going to throw it.
BJ's throwing the hand grenade. He's going to throw the hand grenade. So now what you're saying is it doesn't matter nowadays. Everything's political, which is pretty much true. Yeah.
Yes. And I know this is a big political, like I said, hand grenade, but
football. Yeah.
Here's where I am.
Uh-oh.
And I mean, my car will last more years than it, but it's that time,
right.
You get to the point where, it's about time that we trade cars and get something different.
Okay.
I'm really looking at electric. And I'm not looking at electric to save the planet, although they say that does it.
That's not true, but
I'm looking at electric to save me money.
I think for somebody like you and your wife living in the area where you live and not doing a ton of long distance driving, I think that's probably not a bad option for you. And if it's some families, I can see where if it was like a big family, not a big family, but if it was, mom, dad, and a couple of kids, okay, maybe we have one electric car for dad to drive to work. If people are still driving to work, do they still do that? And then one family car to move everybody around to soccer practice and all that. I don't know. For you, again, retired guy, retired spouse, in a community where you don't travel long distances to get anywhere, probably not a bad idea. Probably not.
Now, I've done the math. I've done the figuring. Although I know if you drive a little faster or if you use your air conditioner, you use a little bit more power than when they say on an 80% charge, you should be able to get X amount of miles. So on a 80% charge, I should be able to, without a problem with the one I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that, and it seems to be the car that's, I mean, unless you're going to get the Tesla, which I really can't afford, but the Hyundai has got some great, the Hyundai has got some great ratings.
Well, I don't know if it's Hyundai or Hyundai. I wasn't correcting you.
When it comes to, electric cars.
Because
I've done all the research. So
sure.
They seem to be the best cars that are out there now if you are looking for an electric car. Looking at the Equinox, or not the Equinox, but
Ioniq.
The Ioniq, yeah.
Ioniq. They make the 5 and the 6. The 5 is the little boxier one, kind of an SUV. The 6 is kind of swoopier.
Yeah.
And I honestly like the boxy one better. Now, let me tell you, you've come to the right man, BJ Odom. You have come to the right man to hear about this because the relationship I was in 2 years ago in Sarasota, she has one. She bought one. The exact same thing, the Hyundai Ioniq 5, the boxy one. And she had been driving an SUV, God knows why, single lady living on her own in Sarasota, was driving one of these Hyundai Palisades, this monster SUV. Okay, she liked the feeling that of being safe and above the traffic. And I get it.
Sounds like
it was eating her out of house and home. Yeah, it was eating her out of house and home. And it was hard to park in the garage. It was hard to park in a parking space because it's a big vehicle. So she was talking to her Hyundai dealer there in Venice, Florida. And they said, oh, we just got one of these electric Ioniq 5s. She said, I'll be right there. So I was visiting her at the time. Again, it was a year and a half, 2 years ago. We went right over and we drove it around the parking lot. She says, oh, you drive it first. You drive it first. Cause I'm not 100% sure about this. And so they had a parking lot, a big, gigantic, empty parking lot behind the dealership. And so we just did it there, and it's fun to drive. Let me tell you, it's like a go-kart. You step on the gas and it pushes gas. You step on the accelerator and it pushes you back in the seats like a ride at Disney World. And it's like, whoa, okay. And so she went in whole hog. She bought the car. She has the charger at home, works off of her 220, the same as the clothes dryer, and it'll charge the car 100% overnight, no problem. Okay. And again, same as you, this is a person who, lives, works, shops in a pretty compact area, Sarasota, Venice, and doesn't do a ton of traveling. And it works for her. It works great. And, now if she has to travel cross country or whatever, I mean, she did drive it on a trip from Venice to Jacksonville once. And, yours truly here is about halfway. So she drove here, plugged it in at the local charging station, and then, go to lunch for an hour or whatever, and you're on your way. So if you are driving a little bit of a distance, you do need to be mindful of where the charging stations are and if it's working.
Yeah,
there's a few of them out there, but more times than I care to admit, she has arrived at a charging station. Like there's one in Orlando at the big mall, at the Centennial. No, what's the whatever? Anyway,
Millennium.
And she has arrived there once or twice to find that, four of the 6 chargers are down and there's people waiting for the other 2. So that's my only, and I know I've ranted about this, so I'll wrap it up just by saying my take on it is, if you're going to be close, if you're going to be local, if you're going to do your own charging at your own house, go for it. But if you do a lot of driving, across country highway driving or something, maybe not. Again, up to you. Totally up to you. For me, I don't think the infrastructure is there yet, but that's all right. So I've ranted. You've heard my story. It's a super cool car. It is a super cool, fun to drive little car. So I'll give you that. So there you go. There's my review.
Now I'm thinking that it would have enough for, even on the one charge, right, to drive all the way to Tampa General or, Moffett for our doctor's appointments. And
How
home.
far is that? Do you know the miles? How much?
It's about 70, I think it is. I don't know. I'll
Sure.
just tell you.
All right. Yeah.
I'll,
Easy.
I'll
Easy.
tell you real quick. I'll do Tampa General Hospital right now.
Okay. But I'll
Okay.
tell you right now that if it's, if it's 200 miles or less total, no sweat. Air conditioning, radio, stopped in traffic, stop and go traffic, no problem. A lot of times these cars will tell you, oh, it's good for 300 miles. Yeah, that's BS.
Yeah, because you're going to run the air, especially in Florida, you're going to run the air conditioning.
Yep, you're going to run the air. There's stop and go drive. If you were on the highway going in a straight line, yeah, maybe you might get 250, 275, 200 miles, 225.
Yeah, Tampa General Hospital right now is like 51 miles.
You're fine. You're perfectly fine. Yeah.
And now I'm thinking now if I go see my son, which I'll do
Fort Myers
that
a little farther.
Quick. That's a little bit further, but they do have those little, it comes with a little 110 charger that you can actually plug into a wall.
Oh, forget it. For brother, trust me when I tell you this. Forget a 110 charger. You could leave it plugged in for a week and it would gain a few percentage.
Well, I'm thinking if you plugged it in for a couple of days, you'd get enough to get back to.
Sure. Now, you don't even have to do that. I'm sure there are charging stations along the way. I'm trying to think if there's one down there there's a charging station because again,
Gulf Coast Town Center has them, I know.
Gulf Coast Town Center has one, and so do the outlet mall. So does the outlet mall in Bradenton, right there at the river. Easy on, easy off. Hop in, plug it in, get a burger. You're on your way. So yeah, absolutely. But again, how far to your son's place did you look?
No, I because you.
Oh, okay.
But I will look here real fast. Let me see.
No worries.
Oh, I guess I won't look that fast. There we go.
That's all right.
But let me ask you this: okay, now she goes to the charging station.
Right.
What did it cost her to charge it at the charging station?
Interesting point. And I don't know if they're still doing this, but when she bought the car a year and a half ago, they were really, really making a push. So she got a get out of jail free card or something on the app that was like, we're going to let you charge it anywhere for free for a year.
Oh, it's right now. It's for 2 years.
2 years. There you go. Maybe that was hers too. Maybe she got it for 2 years. I don't remember. So now the question, like you said, how much does it cost to charge? I think if you paid real money for it, $25. I think if it was if you were way down there and you went up to 80 or 90%, $25. It's less than gas. It's absolutely less than gasoline. The only question is the time. Because to charge, like you said, yes, Hyundai says from small charge to 80% in 20 minutes. If you find the chargers come in different ratings, there's level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 is AC power. Level 1 is you plug it in at the house on AC, wait a week, come back. Level 2 is the home charger that plugs into your 220 overnight, you're good to go. Level 3 is the high-powered ones at the charging stations. Not everybody has a level 3, but if you can find it, yeah, that's the 20 minutes to 80% or 85%. So again.
Now, what I have heard is the different levels cost more money. Like if you go to a level 3, it would cost you more to get a whatever, the same charge. The charge, no matter if you get, let's say you get a 50% up, you up at 50%.
Right.
The level 1, cheapest.
Yeah, it is.
Level 2, it's going to cost you more to get there. Level 3, it's going to cost you even more to get there. That's what I've heard.
So, folks, if you have an electric car, folks, let's hear from you and tell BJ how it's working for you. Now, I will tell you that if you wanted a Tesla, Hertz right there in Fort Myers, you could get a bargain on a Tesla from Hertz because they bought a whole fleet of them and then decided, no, we changed our mind. And they're selling them for fire sale prices on use Teslas. I'm not so sure how crazy about that idea, but it's just an option for you.
So yeah, I'm thinking about it. I haven't, I've been doing my research, and I'm going to continue to do research. But I'm real, and I want to drive, because also by watching, here you are talking about YouTube videos. With me watching YouTube, boy, we've got to take a break here. We're almost done with the show. Yeah. We haven't even taken our break yet.
Yeah.
So we'll take a break. I'll tell you what I'm thinking, what I really need to do too, and we'll do that right after we take a little time out.
Welcome back. I'm Bill Stevens. That's BJ Odom, and this is Car Talk. That was that show on public radio years and years and years ago. They were funny guys, Ray and somebody or the Car Talk. Anyway, if you would like to give us a review of this program, no matter whether you drive an electric car or not, we would love to get that from you. Stop by wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube Music. We're there too. Wherever you get your podcasts, leave that 5-star review for BJ and Bill, the podcast. Just do a quick search. And if you want to find us online, Facebook page is the same, BJ and Bill podcast. And post your pictures of your electric car and your experiences and tell us how it's going, so BJ can get a little information here. So all good.
Now, like I said, like you say, you watch a lot of YouTube videos.
I do.
So I've been reading a lot of reviews, online. Now, how do you say it again? Because it's spelled really weird.
I would say Hyundai.
No. Is
that what you were asking?
I mean, the make. That's the make. What's the model?
Right. It's an Ionic, like
okay.
Ionic.
Yeah. Okay. The Ion, and so I've been watching some videos on that too, and some reviews on driving it, but it's totally different, because you can actually, the way they're describing this, the 2024, you can push a button, because it has those little things that knows if someone's beside you or not.
Right.
All of a sudden you're behind a car and say, okay, let's go around it. It goes around it.
Right. It goes the automatic. Yeah. The autopilot, or the whatever you call it. Yeah. Yeah. So my friend's doesn't have that one, but it does have like the cruise control. Well, and I don't know if that's a modern invention or not. It has the radar cruise control. So if you set the cruise control at a certain speed and then somebody pulls in front of you, it will automatically slow down to keep the space between your cars. And if they speed up, it will speed up again. So it does a lot of its own thinking for itself, which is really super cool. I think to me, the big difference is they have this thing called regenerative braking. When you take your foot off the accelerator, notice I didn't say gas pedal, take your foot off the accelerator, it engages these little generating things on the wheels so that you don't even have to put your foot on the brake. It starts to slow down because it regenerates electricity and pumps some juice back into the battery to give you even better range. But so there's a learning curve to all of it. It's not terrible. And like I said, it's super fun to drive.
That's, I'm really interested. Let's just say that.
Okay, cool. Very cool.
But not ready to pull the trigger yet. Still more research.
And you'll probably, I was going to say you'll probably pay a little bit. There's no bargains on those because they're pretty much in demand, I think. They sure were when my friend bought hers back in Venice a year and a half ago. They had one. And they had one, and they said, some guy's interested in, and it wasn't a sales pitch. I mean, we literally passed the guy leaving. It's like they're going to tell you, oh, somebody's ready to buy it. You better hop on it. No, this guy was like going home to talk to his wife about getting it, and she came in and bought it. So anyway, yeah. So we'll see how it goes. Good luck to you with that.
So we'll see what happens.
There you go. We'll see what happens if BJ's driving a new car. As the world
turns.
Yes, you got an electric scooter. You might as well have an electric car.
Well, see, we've got a golf cart.
And you have a golf cart.
And we've had a golf cart for a long time.
Right.
And what I like about it, although they say that if you need to, we'll continue this conversation, I guess, because now you've got me on another track with my electric car I may get. They say like you don't need the oil changes, and a lot of, transmission. There's not really a transmission. Kind of like with a golf cart. You've got an electric vehicle. You keep a battery charged, it runs.
You're good to go.
I know. It's there's really no maintenance to the golf cart except for, we have one with regular batteries, so you got to keep the water up.
Right.
But besides that, I mean, our golf cart, we take it in every year, kind of like just for a maintenance check. Oh, right. Hardly that. This thing is, and even an old golf cart, we've hardly put any money into it at all, except for putting new batteries in it. We've had it for like 4 years now. And it was used when we got it.
There you go.
But, it says like if you do take it in, because they are newer and not as many experienced mechanics, that it'll cost you more. And because of what you need usually cost you more. And of course, they're saying the batteries cost anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000 to replace the batteries. But they say,
really? You're talking about on the car.
Yeah, on the car, yeah.
They're crazy expensive.
Yeah, the golf cart only costs us it still costs like $500-$700 to replace all the batteries.
Yeah, I know that. So all of that's true. I mean, but the good news is, like you said, very little maintenance for an electric car. Like, it's not like it's going to leak oil, like you said, or any of that stuff. It just doesn't. Most of the updates are computer. It's like they plug it in, it upgrades the software like the latest version of Windows, and there you go. Hopefully it doesn't work like Windows, but that's another story.
Now Tesla also, the guy, because they were comparing, I was comparing Teslas to the Hyundai.
Right.
And it was like the only thing that it didn't really do, that they go, don't expect, you come out to your car is totally different one day. But they're saying with the Tesla, you may come out one day and they've changed some stuff, and your battery used to get like 200 miles. Now it's going to get like 250 miles. You wake up and go, I got more battery this morning. Why do I have more battery?
Right.
It's those settings or whatever they do when they give you the updates.
So, yeah, I mean, the technology is getting better and better and better, no doubt. I'm not there yet. I'm just not there yet as far as, and of course, the problem for me, not the problem, but the issue for me is, of course, I live in an apartment. I couldn't charge my car here. I mean, I guess if you had an apartment that had a garage, and some of the apartments in my complex do have garages, you pay a few bucks more and you get a garage. So I guess you could put a charger in there. I don't know if it has a 220 volt outlet there or not. But see, so there's my thinking. There's like, I don't want to worry that I'm like, okay, I'm driving to Blue Ridge today. Oh, damn, I forgot to charge the car. Now I got to go sit over by my Target, my Walmart, where the charger is at, and I got to sit there for an hour, and hopefully there's an available charger, that there's not people waiting, and that they hopefully all work and all that. So again, in my mind, not quite ready for prime time. Just it's that close. It's that close. But it's
like I said, I think with the traveling that we do.
Right.
But then now I was even thinking of, they have these plug-in hybrids.
Mm-hmm.
And I was even thinking of that, but then you have a motor, you have oil changes, you have transmission, all that you have again. And I read a couple articles about it saying, well, if you're going to do that, you might as well just do the whole thing. Because the price of the plug-in hybrids are a lot higher than just the electric car itself.
You got choices. You got choices and you got options, and there's a lot to think about. So there you go.
And I'm not in a hurry.
So what's that?
I'm not in a hurry either. So
good.
That helps.
Good to know.
I was when you're in a hurry, then you go, oh, I
just turned this into a car show, and it's not really a car show.
Welcome to BJ and Bill Under the Hood.
Yeah, that's us, all right. Under the hood. Yeah, no thanks.
Hey, Bill, what's this thing do? I don't know. Why don't you
pull it out and find out?
Here's how you fix it. Just take a hammer and hit it a couple times.
That's pretty much the extent of my car knowledge. That's pretty much. I could check the oil. I can check the oil. That's about it for me. I
The
can
only
put
reason
air in
why
the tires.
if I wouldn't have worked at a gas station when I was a kid, I wouldn't even probably know how to check the oil. But that's when they go, check your oil? Oh, yes, please do.
So you worked at a gas station when you were a kid? I worked at a gas station when I was a kid in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my first job was working at a gas station. I don't even think I had a driver's license yet. I was a kid that came out and, put gas in your car and asked if I could check your oil.
Really? So I worked at one it was in the in-between time when I was in high school. It was kind of like you can do it yourself or we'll pump it for you for a few extra cents. So yeah, we had 2 or 3 guys that would work there at the gas station and corner of Pearl Road and I forget the cross street. But yeah, but I had my driver's license because it was not quite walking distance from my house. But it was high school times. And yeah, we did a lot of shady stuff. A lot of shady stuff.
Well, let's just say I was a lot like Jimmy Nelson, our good friend. May he rest in peace.
Jimmy Nelson, what's that?
Farfel and Danny O'Day.
Yeah. I mean, I know who Jimmy Nelson is, but what's that got to do with working at a gas station?
He's the Texaco man. He wore the star. He did all the television commercials.
You're so right. I forgot about that. Wow.
I was the man who wore the star.
Was that before or after? Was that before or after his puppeting career?
I think he did puppets. I think he did puppets. Yeah. That's what brought him to Hollywood or whatever, or brought him to television.
Right.
But I don't think he used the puppets in any of the Texaco's commercials.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah, that's awesome. Good memory there, BJ Odom. I'm Googling it now to see if I just put in the man who wore the star. Oh, look at that. The star. Oh, no. That's the Texas Rangers. No. No, Texas Rangers. Come on.
Probably Google that.
Well, I mean, I get it, but
Texaco was probably even gone before Google became a thing.
It might have been. All right, so I'm going to put Texaco in there, which I should have done before. So, yeah. Talk about trusting your car. The man who wears the star for a decade, beginning in 1975. Bob Hope was Mr. Texaco, advertising it on his TV specials. Who knew that? Yeah. Okay. Boy, look at that. There's a ton of history on there, but not our guy. He's not there. Huh. That's interesting.
I got to know him quite well because I worked at a couple stations and he would come in to do, he actually did, and what was it, First Federal of Fort Myers?
I think so.
Him and his wife did those commercials. And I remember it was so funny because I produced a lot of those commercials for radio.
Right.
And there's times he would come in and he would bring the puppets and do the whole commercial with the puppets.
Right.
Danny O'Day, and then they talk about, First Federal of Fort Myers.
Sure. And Farfel.
Well, there was times he didn't bring the puppets.
Right.
But it was fun to watch because even when he didn't bring the puppets, and he said, I have to, he had to move his hands the way that he would move his hands to do the puppets. Because they had different, because, you could move eyes and stuff. So he had to pull different strings. And so he would sit there and do that. Now you can see me, on the screen, but no one else can. But he'd go, well, Danny, how's that? Well, let me tell you that. Oh, no.
Doing the puppet thing.
And it was just amazing.
So obviously these were radio commercials where it didn't matter that the puppets weren't there. You just needed the voices.
Yeah.
And he could do the voices, but he couldn't do the voice without actually pretending like he was still maneuvering the puppet.
And then, of course, you remember, Farfel was the dog.
Of course, Farfel.
And when he would do chocolate, he would close his mouth.
Right.
Which, it was a puppet, so it'd snap.
Right.
So if he was doing like a commercial for radio and he didn't have the puppets, he would take his hands and go. clap them together when Farfel was to close his mouth. It was amazing to watch, and it was some of the best times I ever had in radio. And then not only that, but also his wife, did some of the commercials with him.
Right.
So they would both come in, and I must tell everyone, of course, if you are under 50, you probably don't even know who Jimmy Nelson, Danny O'Day, and Farfel are.
No, go look.
Yeah, go look them up.
Go ahead.
Yeah. But
Go look them up.
They were one of the sweetest, nicest couples I had ever met in my life. And one time I did a fundraiser for the American Heart Association. And he brought the puppets and he was part of the fundraiser. Well, let's just say the fundraiser didn't make as much money as it was supposed to make. The crowd was not a giant crowd. The end of the night, I handed him his beautiful check for, doing his performance, which he was contracted to do. He was owed the money. I handed him the check. He said, there wasn't very many people here tonight. Handed me right back the check and said, I hope you made a little bit of money to give to the American Heart Association. That, my friends, was Jimmy Nelson.
That's class.
That's
class. I was at that show because I can tell you for a fact it was at Cape Coral High School, I think.
Yes, it was.
I was there. I was part of that show. And I will remember to this day, because we wanted to look spiffy, that I was in suit and tie. I'm sure you were too. And I'm in the bathroom before going on stage, struggling to put the tie on. Jimmy Nelson walks in and helps me tie the tie so that it looks proper in the bathroom at Cape Coral High School. This is the guy we're talking about. That's how, like you said, sweetest, nicest guy. And they don't make them like they used to.
Did you ever work with it? Well, obviously you knew her, his wife, Betty. Also,
I met her.
Oh, yeah. Super lady. Just a super, super lady.
Yeah. Yeah.
I miss that man immensely.
He was also involved. I think he was, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think he was one of the big promoters for Cape Coral back when it was nothing, back when it was swamp and they were bulldozing and building Cape Coral out of nothing. I think he was the one that did a lot of the commercials, the TV commercials that would air up north. Hey, you can buy property in Florida for, $25 an acre or whatever.
He may have been, yes.
Like that. Yeah. Yeah. Because I remember him telling a story about how they would bring investors and stuff down and they would fly them out to Cape Coral on one of these little itty bitty, private Cessna planes or whatever. And they would just land in the streets because there were some paved streets out in Cape Coral that were no houses, no nothing, but they paved some streets to show where it would go. So they would just land in the street and show people around, and then they would take off from the street and be on their way. So yeah, I remember him telling that story too. So awesome stuff.
Like I said, a great guy, and he was just the kindest guy and he was always, of course he was a ventriloquist.
Right.
And they have a magician society, where all the magicians have a few big, conferences or conventions over the year. He would always, Danny O'Day, Farfel, and Jimmy Nelson would end up at those commercials. I mean, not the commercials, but the conventions. And I, because being a stand-up comedian, I met a few ventriloquists along the way.
Right.
And they all had nothing but praise of Jimmy Nelson. He was a man who was loved by just everybody.
Everybody.
I think it's been maybe 4 or 5, maybe even, time flies so much, but
right.
Remember when he passed, his son, put a big old Facebook, because I know I was into Facebook at the time, because his son, had a big old announcement about the passing of my father, Jimmy Nelson.
Right. Let's see.
Now, whether Betty is still alive or not, I don't know, but because they were both up, they were both getting up there when we were both in Fort Myers too.
He passed in 2019 in Cape Coral at the age of 90.
Yep.
90. Now it does say he was married to Betty. You're talking about Betty Norman?
Yeah.
It says she passed in 2019 as well. So
Okay.
yeah. This is on Wikipedia, so I'm just checking on it for you there. So yeah.
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 Super awesome couple.
Uh-huh. In 1959, while working a late show at a nightclub in Wichita, Kansas, he picked up a stuffed dog that one of the patrons had left behind on the piano and improvised a low-pitched voice to make it talk. This gave him the idea for a new character, which he built. He named it Farfel after the Jewish pasta dish that he had seen on the menu of one of the Borscht Belt resorts in upstate New York, where he often performed. And I had wondered for years where Farfel came from, and now you know.
And I thought it had something to do with Nestle's chocolate.
Well, no. They came to do that. Well, now we know. I wouldn't have argued with you if you'd have said it 10 minutes ago, but I just looked it up on Wikipedia. So there you go.
because he was. I think that's what really took him to fame.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe he was a Texaco man before he was. But that's what really, well, I guess they both really put him on the map.
All right. So it says this is from Wikipedia. And in 1950, Nelson was hired as a regular on the Texaco Star Theater hosted by Milton Berle. Nelson and his character Danny O'Day would appear in Texas gas jockey uniforms. Nelson was the host of several TV shows in the early 50s, including Bank on the Stars, NBC, originally, yada, yada, yada. In 1958, he added another animal to his character, a cat named Flatita. Didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember the cat. So he didn't use it later in life.
Right.
With it, so.
Right. The cat. Well, there's a little bit more on that. And then what he did, Nelson. Nestle commercials in 1955. Nestle hired Nelson to do commercials selling their chocolate candy and Nestle Quick chocolate milk mix on TV with, as we know, bringing it to NESTLES. Nestle's makes the very best chocolate. Smack the hands. Right. God bless you wherever you are. Jimmy Nelson, we know you. Well, we know you're out there. You're an angel somewhere, and we appreciate that. So that's terrific. That's great. Good. Now there's some good memories for the show. There you go.
I have great memories with him. Then his wife also worked. We'll just give her, she was big into the, I don't know what it was called then. Now it's called One Blood, I think. But she was really into the donation of blood donation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think she was like one of the big wigs there.
Okay.
And was always, doing all the PSAs and stuff for donating blood.
Well, then I'm sure she and I crossed paths a bunch because, of course, I was the guy doing all the PSA stuff at the radio stations, and I did a lot of giving blood and still do to this day. So, yeah, One Blood that's one of the organizations here, well, then throughout Florida. So, yeah, I think that's.
I forget what it was. Maybe, I don't know what it was called back then, but it wasn't. One Blood.
I'm looking, you can't see, but I'm looking over on my desk here because they send me like 2 or 3 postcards a week, big ones. And I'm like, guys, I'm going to give blood anyway. You don't have to keep bombarding me with these postcards that I'm sure are costing you big money. And they're like, well, we just send them out to everybody. I'm like, oh, well, okay. Let's talk about marketing budgets here, but it's okay.
No, I admit my wife is good at that. She tries to do that because we actually have a truck. Yeah, we have a truck that comes right here to the neighborhood, and she usually tries to go down to the clubhouse and get on the little bus.
Yep.
And
the big red bus. It's the big red bus, BJ. Come on. Now we know you can't. You're more of the receiver.
Yeah,
your wife and I are more the givers.
In radio, it is called a PD.
PD?
Yeah, the program director.
Right.
But in giving blood, I am also a PD.
Really?
Yep. Permanent denial.
Permanent denial. Oh.
I hate to laugh at that because I would actually like to do it, but yeah, with having the transplant and everything else, I'm a PD. That's what they call me.
PD, permanent denial. There is more chemistry circulating in your blood than they could I mean, what are they going to do with your blood? It's got so much stuff in it to keep you alive.
Gotta be
That's a
good
bad thing. I'm not
somewhere,
saying it's a
though.
bad thing. Right.
Well,
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's where you're at in life right now. And it's okay. You know, your wife and I will continue to give so that you might receive.
Well, see, I was under, after my transplant, I was,
Right.
so thankful and I was healthy again and I was, doing everything everybody else was. So I actually
Right.
went to the big red bus and I started, they always give you the first, like the 5 questions before they even let you fill anything else out.
Right.
If you da 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 da, and then I think they got to the 3rd question. It was, do you have anything? You have like a transplanted organ or anything? I says, yes. And they go, oh, you're a PD. And I go, yeah, I know. I'm a program director. I work at a radio station. No, in our business, you're a PD, permanent denial. They go, oh man,
go.
I was actually getting brave enough to do this too.
Nowadays, I mean, I don't know when the last time your wife gave or whatever, but I'm pretty regular with that.
Within a month ago.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too, probably. But boy, now they give you the iPad and it's like 30 pages of questions and all of that stuff about, have you been here, done that, had sex with this, done this drug, everything. And I'm like, why don't you just screen the blood when you get it? Well, we do. Okay, so you're now asking me 30 pages of whatever.
I was very surprised though, because she had the breast cancer, 3 years ago or whatever, and they allow her to do, well, how do you say, they all check it too though, but I figured after her cancer, she would be a PD, but I guess not.
Is she taking? She's still taking some medications, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, she takes 1 pill.
Just one.
She has to do that for 5 years.
Yeah, it must not be a bad one, or I don't bad one. They're all, whatever. They're good. If it keeps you alive, it's doing its job. It's a good thing. But yeah, not like some of us around here who have blood chemistries that would stump a PhD, but it's okay. It's all right. You're good.
Well, obviously, because one of the things when they give you a transplant, and they even told me this up front,
right? You
may come to the hospital for a regular checkup. And we take your blood, because they do, they test it for different things. And they go, we can always do a drug test. And they said, if you, like, let's say I was doing some illegal drugs.
Illicit
and they did
substance,
they did the secret little test on me. That would make me a PD, a permanent denial, as far as ever getting a transplant again. Because they would say,
how they keep you in line, huh?
Yeah. They go, you got a nice organ, and we gave you this valuable gift, and now you're doing drugs. Don't expect another valuable gift.
Don't expect. Well said. Well said. Yes.
Now that was told to me, obviously 21 years ago. So whether they still do that or not, I don't know. I have never asked them, can I do some medical marijuana by any means? Because that sure would be, it would be nice and relaxing for me to do that, but I've never even asked.
Why don't you ask? In fact, I'm just inquiring minds want to know. I'm just curious if that's because, thinking on that and the law on that has changed. So maybe it's not a thing anymore, but yeah, I'm sure if you're like, sniffing coke off whatever, that's probably still a no.
And they don't even like.
How did we get here, folks? How did we get to this point where we're talking about heart transplants and doing drugs? Come on. All right.
We went from electric cars to doing drugs.
Well, we had Jimmy Nelson was in between. So there you go. Oh, good. All right. Look at the time. Got to run. Awesome. What are you doing? What are you doing this week? Got any more? Speaking of those doctor visits?
Well, I have blood work to do tomorrow.
You have blood work to do tomorrow. Perfect. Well, you go and enjoy that, or at least hopefully everything turns out nice and clean, and we'll report back to that in a week. So we'll do that. Everybody else, have yourself a great week. Stay out of trouble. Either give blood if you can, or, well, whatever. You have a great week. Just go out and have fun. Until then, just up to BJ Odom to say,
see ya!